Well, I thought I would do a completely unscientific, uncontrolled, not very process-founded, very objective, subjective review in comparison between the Ruger LC9 and the Smith & Wesson Shield 9. The Ruger LC9, I'll start off with just my impressions of it, is a good gun. I don't have any trouble with it. I carried it for about a year. And it's maybe a little lighter than the Shield, if so, not by much. What I will say about it is that I do like the way that it fits my hand a little bit better than I do the Shield. Just something about the shape of the grip. It's a little concave and fits well when you do have the trigger back. I just like the way it feels in my hand a little bit better, to be honest, than I do the Shield. But the trigger on the Shield more than makes up for the grip difference. There's just absolutely no comparison between this long double action, late break, long reset trigger on the LC9, which is just by design, it's a preference thing. It is a safe trigger, and it's not a bad carry gun, but I do prefer the trigger on this Shield. Don't really have anything fancy or scientific to do to compare them. I will say that on the LC9 I did have a little bit of trouble with various hollow points feeding through them. My carry ammo is the Hornady Critical Defense. Never had a problem with it in the Shield. It fed fine. But some of the larger hollow points, for example, something like this, does have trouble feeding through the LC9. It seems to hang up, especially on manual racking the slide. And with the large hollow points, it does tend to hang up a little bit more. And you can see the angle when it's in recoil, the angle of the barrel as compared to the angle of the barrel on the Shield. You can see there's more angle here. That drops this feed ramp lower, and the Shield has fed everything I've ever tried to put through it, manually or during firing. It's never jammed at all. Where this one was a little bit persnickety, especially at first, and I think that may have had to do with wearing the recoil spring. I notice when the spring is new, it's a lot stiffer, and it's possible, depending on the round, that the slide was just maybe lacking a 1/16 of an inch during firing in full draw, because as I fired it more and more and the spring settled in, I noticed that it did feed better. It started to work a little bit better, but you know, that's just something to be aware of. There's a difference between them. What I'm going to do is shoot them here. We got the same ammo in both, 115 grain 9mm. Start with the LC9. And I haven't fired this one in a while, so I'm going to use that as an excuse to miss. This long double action is kind of like firing a revolver. There we go. It took me a little bit to get back into it. It is a challenge to shoot, where we've got 8-inch plates at about 12 yards, which is not that big of a deal, but you do have to concentrate to hit them. You see, it took me a couple of times going through it to kind of get used to the physical motion of it, because this is it's just a very long trigger. You get a little bit of dead space in it, just where it flexes, but when you start pulling, you know, way back, and then the reset is way out here. So we'll break it. See, that's just a first click. There's the reset right there. So it's got a very long reset. And I know that some people really gripe and complain about that. You know, really, if you shoot revolvers, you won't have a problem with it at all. It's a very safe, long double action pull, and in a panic it does the job. I will say that if you're very used to short pulls and very fast resets that some of the firearms have, you may need to practice with this one a lot before you carry it. But for someone who is just looking for a good carry gun and can get into the habit of dealing with the trigger, treat it like a revolver almost, it's a very good gun. I don't have any trouble with it. Other than you do need to cycle through it to ensure the reliability. If you're going to carry a hollow point ammunition, something like the Hornady Critical Defense that's very small opening, close, good angle, it does well. I've never noticed any difference in feeding this versus the Full Metal Jacket. But if you do have some fancy, like if you want to shoot these Liberty rounds Ultra Defense with this huge hollow point in them, you might want to run quite a few of these through it to make sure that it doesn't hang for you. I will tell you that this gun does have problems feeding hollow points like this. Now over to the Shield. This is my new carry gun, and it has had its first problem that I'm just kind of, I've never seen this happen before. It's kind of floored me of all failures to have on a gun. I mean, you have parts that can fall off, or springs that can bend, things that can jam, and what happened to this one is the white dot on the front sight fell out. If you can see that. Took a shot, brought it relined, and the front sight was just gone. And I started looking, and it was black. The little white paint that's in there just, I guess, fell out. And not a big deal. I'm probably, well, I know I am. I ordered some excess sights for this gun I'm going to put on it and practice with, so I'll be replacing these, and I can put a little white enamel back in there. It's just kind of funny. I've never seen one do that before. And I've had sights fall off before, but never the paint fall out of them. It's kind of unique. We'll fire it a few times here. Let's see, when I miss with this one, what's my excuse? I'll think of something. Just, I never claimed to be a marksman. I can do fairly decent. I know I need more practice with this one. And you know, I can do well enough on a paper target. These 8-inch plates, with them jumping around all over the place and out of the way, you've got to account for that too. But let's shoot it a few times and see what happens. Of course, you do realize I have no white dot on that front side. It's amazing how much I'm having to look for the front side. It's just not there. Overall, I do like the Shield better. It's a little less snappy than the LC9. It has just a little bit less upward thrust to it when you fire it. It does feel my hand more than the LC9 does, but it has kind of a convex shape to the grip instead of concave. So that's different. It does have a nice little impression here for your thumb to sit in. That's comfortable. I do like the way that when you go to rest your finger here, it just fits right above the trigger guard. There's no Picatinny rail on the front. I found that an interesting choice on Smith & Wesson's part. It just seems like I guess they could have gone ahead and molded one in. I don't know what use it would be. Just seems like an option. As easy it would have been, they would have done it, but they didn't. And it's not, doesn't come ambidextrous. Everything's on the left side for a right-handed shooter. And do a little bit of a comparison. Of course, I've got the extended grip here on the Smith & Wesson, and we have the pinky grip on the LC9 here. First impression when you look at them is that the M&P looks bigger than the LC9, and it is slightly bigger. It's a little misleading, just the lines of the gun, the way it looks. It's really not that much bigger. You see, if I line them up, you know, again, I've got the extended grip on here, so you have to kind of line this up here. You can see with the pinky, they're actually the same height, pretty much. Might be within 1/8 of an inch there. The real difference is in the length. The Smith & Wesson is slightly longer. You know, if you line the backs up, you can see it's just a little bit longer there. And the Smith & Wesson, I don't have anything to measure with, but it is just slightly thicker than the LC9. But all in all, it's still a good concealable, inside the waistband is how I carry it, 9mm gun. And there's a lot of reviews on YouTube. I won't profess to be a great gun knowledge base here, but it's always also good to see other people's opinions who may have a different take on it, or to kind of confirm other opinions that you might see. And my opinion is, obviously between the two of them, I chose to carry the Smith & Wesson Shield. I feel comfortable with it. I like the quality of the gun. I like the feel of the trigger pull on it. The trigger does help with fast accuracy. I have to say I found it easier to be more accurate with the Shield quickly than I have with the LC9. The LC9, to pick it up and start going with that, you know, huge trigger pull here, you know, it is like a revolver, and I'm not a highly accurate shooter when it comes to double action. It does take concentration, and this one is just a lot easier to pull that trigger and stay on target when you're doing it in a hurry. All in all, they're both good guns. They both have their purpose. There's definitely a price difference between them, so in a way you're comparing apples to oranges. I think I gave $2.99 for this one new. This one was $4.50 new, is what I paid for the Shield. So there is a price difference between them. And you know, of course it shows up. But again, I'm not knocking the Ruger. It's a good quality gun. I will still carry this if I need to. If do something to this one, had to have it repaired or whatever, this would be the backup gun. This is also 9mm that my wife can carry. It was originally going to be her carry. Of course, if you watch our videos, you know she's carrying the TCP, little 380. And for a woman, it's still got a lot of punch, and it's a little more concealable. You can see here. But we might do that in another video. Well, that's pretty much it. Happy shooting.